In today's video, we'll be going over how to build your startup without any investors. Again, if you're watching this video, I'm sure you're wondering how can you build your startup if you don't have any investors, and how do you know what features to include in your MVP? These are questions that we hear quite often from prospective founders almost on a weekly basis. The good news is you absolutely can build a profitable software product without a single dime of venture capital. In fact, some of the most successful founders today started by leveraging their expertise in their industry to solve inefficiencies they'd personally encountered, and they got their first customers to fund the development of their application. So in this video, we're diving into how to spot inefficiencies in your industry that can be solved with software, how to validate your idea and create a roadmap for your product without risking all of your own capital, and how to get your first clients to fund your idea, turning it into a revenue generating product from day one. By the end of this video, you'll know how to transform your expertise into a product that's not only valuable, but self-funded from the start. But before we dive in, you might be wondering, who am I and why should you listen to me? My name is Timothy John Uzebu. I'm the co-founder here at Benmore Technologies. We specialize in helping non-technical, self-funded founders turn their ideas into real functional software products. Over the years, we've worked with startups from all kinds of industries, including healthcare, real estate, marketing, logistics, and more. The apps that we've built have gone on to raise capital from investors, bring in millions of dollars in revenue, and partner with companies like Microsoft, JP Morgan, and more, while serving tens of thousands of users across the globe, including companies like the New York Times, Toronto Raptors, and Google. So again, it's safe to say that we know a thing or two about building software applications for non-technical founders. But before we jump into the topic of today's video, I want to really stress out who this information is best suited for. This specific strategy is tailor-made for consulting or service-based professionals in industries like construction, logistics, management consulting, IT services, compliance, and more. Right, if you go to our website and look at our case studies, you'll see some of the different industries that we've worked with clients to build software applications for. Now, if you run a business in one of these industries or a similar service-based field, you already have a massive advantage. And the reason for that is because you know the industry. You spent years solving problems firsthand. You understand the inefficiencies, pain points, and bottlenecks better than anyone else. And this knowledge gives you a head start in identifying opportunities for automation and optimization. Secondly, you're tackling high stakes problems. These industries that are manual and service-based often deal with large scale problems, ones that cost companies hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. And as we all know, in startups, you get paid in proportion to the size of the problems that you solve. Now, due to that fact, whenever you solve a problem of that magnitude, clients are more than willing to pay a premium for the solution. Quick example, if your software can solve a company $200,000 annually by reducing payroll inefficiencies, charging $20,000 per year can be a no-brainer. Now, this is an example of one of the softwares that one of our clients just launched. Again, right now we're in the end of January. You see in the first about 7-8 days, they were able to close $3,000 per year in revenue for that on that software because they're tackling B2B problems. Business-to-business softwares are typically higher value than business-to-consumer products when it comes to annual recurring revenue of a single client. That's because companies are used to paying $1,000, $4,000, up to $50,000 annually for software that solves real-world problems in their business, which makes it a lot easier to recoup your development costs and scale profitably from day one as a bootstrap founder with no investors. Now, I understand not everyone that comes across this channel or our company in general has a business-to-business background. So, what about B2C ideas? Now, this approach can work for business-to-consumer ideas, but the math does get a bit trickier. The reason for that is because in B2C, you're often dealing with smaller price points. Think $5 per month or $10 per month for a subscription. That means you need to attract a much larger user base to cover your costs of development initially and turn a profit, right? For example, if your development costs are $50,000, now working with us, it probably wouldn't be anywhere near that for an MVP. Most of our MVPs are in the range of $10,000 to $25,000. But for example, just to keep the numbers clean, if you're at $50,000 in development costs, and you're charging a user $50 per year, you need to profitably generate 1,000 paying customers to break even on that development cost, right? Now, in contrast with a B2B approach, you might only need to find 5 clients that are willing to pay you $10,000 per year to hit that same revenue target, right? So the math typically is a bit harder, right, for B2C founders trying to use the same strategy. But of course, if you're a B2C individual and you have the marketing background and you have some sort of K factor, viral organic growth within your application, this might not be an issue for you. Now, as far as the steps of how you can actually go about finding these inefficiencies and building out a product that your customers are funding for you without the need of investors, The first step, of course, is finding an actual inefficiency. Take a look at the recurring bottlenecks within your industry and see, are there any outdated systems, overly manual processes, or just general things that are slowing down these businesses that you're interacting with. The great thing is, if you run a service-based or consulting business, you likely already see inefficiencies that cost companies time and money. We actually have a lot of current clients that have done exactly this and are seeing the results in real time. Now, I wish I could speak on all of those publicly. However, of course, a lot of these startups are still in stealth mode as they're still early stage, so we'll just stick to one for now that we can publicly talk about. Now, if you've seen the case study and the interview of SwiftApprove on our channel and on our website, this will be familiar to you. Muhib, the CEO and founder of SwiftApprove, have been in the marketing space for years and ran his own marketing agency specializing in email marketing for SaaS companies. He noticed that marketing agencies were handling dozens of client projects at the same time, and every campaign involved multiple stakeholders, revisions, and approvals across different types of content, like landing pages, videos, emails, and social media posts. The current workflow was just a chaotic mess of email threads, spreadsheets, Google Drive links, and Slack messages. Essentially, a designer would upload a draft, the client sends feedback over email, someone else replies somewhere in Slack, and a new version gets uploaded, but no one knows which one is the latest, and the final approval gets lost in the overall hustle and bustle. Of course, that led to a lot of missed deadlines, miscommunication, and costly rework. So if you're Muhib, what are you going to do, right? Of course, the opportunity was to build a content proofing platform that centralized all approvals, feedbacks, and version tracking in one place, eliminating the back and forth and making the entire process seamless. Now, Muhib worked with our team to build out this exact software and is now able to sell to businesses for thousands of dollars per year and genuinely help their bottom line in the process due to the fact that it solves such a painful problem for them. If you haven't already, you can check out the interview we did with Muhib about his startup journey here on our channel, or go to our website and read the case study in depth. I'll leave the link to both of those in the description. Now, keep in mind, this is just one example, and we have many other clients that are running the exact same playbook in different verticals. Of course, I don't expect you to remember every single detail about his example, but the key takeaway in your case is that if you are in this position, your experience in your industry gives you an unfair advantage over competitors. So right now we have our expertise and we spotted our inefficiency in our market. The next step is to validate your idea before you build it. The first thing you'll want to do is create a clickable prototype. You can use tools like Figma to create a simple clickable demo of your idea. Of course, it doesn't require any coding, it's just a visual representation of what your app will look like and how it will function once it is actually developed. Now that you have that, you can use that to pitch your potential clients. So you have the prototype, you can go to your potential clients, whether they're companies in your network or others in your industry, and show them the prototype and really just get a sense as far as what they think about the idea. Does it solve their problems? Would they use it? And what would they pay for it if they would? Now at this point, if they're interested, you can ask for a letter of intent or an LOI, which is a non-binding agreement that says they'll buy or use your product once it is actually built out. This, of course, is proof of demand and can help you secure additional funding if you need it. Now, once you have your prototype and your LOIs, you can go to that same client and say, hey, if we build this app to solve this painful problem in your business, would you commit to using it, and will you put your money where your mouth is? Of course, this approach works because you're solving a problem that they already have, right? You don't have to convince them of the problem. They already know it exists. Number two, you're de-risking the process for yourself. Right, you're not spending money out of your pocket, using client revenue to fund the development. And three, you're proving demand from day one. Now, once you have this money in, of course, you'll want to use that to actually build the product, right? Step 4 is to go ahead and do that. But the last thing you want to do is get too excited and build far too many features. You want to make sure you're focusing on an MVP, right? A minimum viable product. This is the simplest version of your app that solves the core problem. Now, in Muhib's case with SwiftApprove, the MVP included a way to upload and send the main types of content clients were sending for reviews, a feature to highlight and comment over the content to ask for revisions, and a simple approval workflow that tracked the content versions over time. Now, what it didn't include was two-factor authentication, fancy design elements, and integrations with third-party tools like Zapier. Don't get me wrong, those additional features did come later, but only once he had already validated his idea and started generating actual revenue. Now, once we have this additional revenue in, the next step is, of course, to scale and expand. The MVP is now live and you have your first clients in it and using it. You can start gathering feedback from your early users and using that feedback to refine and improve your product, right? Building only what's necessary so you're not wasting time, wasting capital on features that nobody's even asking for. From there, you want to gradually add new features based on that user demand. Of course, the question is why this works. This approach works because it flips the traditional funding model on its head. Instead of spending months chasing investors, you're able to take your destiny into your own hands, identify a real problem in your industry, validate your solution directly with your potential customers that you probably already have a relationship with, and use early revenue to fund your product, reducing your risk immensely. Now, of course, some key takeaways here. If you're an industry expert with insights into inefficiencies, you already have a massive advantage, right? Again, I'm not someone who has direct experience when it comes to the logistics industry, construction, real estate, right? I'm a person with a development background. So if I was to go into your space, I would be at a massive disadvantage to you. Even though I can build the software myself, I don't have the business context to really understand what I should build. And that's where you have a leg up. With this experience, you're able to build a profitable software product without investors, solve real world problems in your industry, and create a scalable revenue generating business from day one. Now, if this applies to you and you have a lot of experience in a service-based or consulting sort of industry, and you want to speak with an experienced team that can help you capitalize on this experience, feel free to go to the description below and book a call to speak with our team. More than happy to walk you through what our process looks like when it comes to building out MVPs for these types of products.